Before we begin, take 1 second and subscribe to this channel right now. If you are someone who grew up handling coins every day, if you believe small things can carry big stories, and if you don't want to miss information that most people your age are never told, then subscribe and stay with me until the end. What you are about to hear is not common knowledge, and many people who once owned this coin already let it slip through their fingers without realizing what they had. Most men between the ages of 55 and 65 remember a time when coins mattered. You paid attention to the feel of metal in your hand, the sound it made on a table, and the year stamped into it. Coins were not just money, they were part of daily life, part of memory. You may remember traveling, working overseas, trading, saving change in jars, or simply keeping a few unusual coins aside because something about them felt different. One such coin, often ignored, often spent without a second thought, is the Singapore 5-cent coin dated 1987. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Small, copper-colored, lightweight, and simple in design. Many people assume it is just another low-value coin from Southeast Asia, something that could never amount to more than a few cents. That assumption is exactly why this coin has been overlooked for decades. History shows us again and again that the most valuable collectibles are often the ones nobody paid attention to at the time they were made. The year 1987 was a turning point for Singapore in more ways than most people realize. The country was rapidly modernizing, changing its production methods, refining its minting technology, and adjusting metal compositions due to global economic pressures. During this period, small experimental changes were quietly introduced in coin production. Some batches were struck under conditions that were never fully documented for the public. Others were produced in limited quantities before standards were revised again. To the average person, all 1987 5-cent coins looked the same. To a trained eye, they were not. Older men especially understand this concept well. You know that manufacturing errors, short production runs, and transitional periods create anomalies. In machinery, in tools, in vehicles, and yes, in coins. When something is produced at the exact moment systems are changing, imperfections appear. Those imperfections are not flaws to collectors. They are fingerprints of history. The Singapore 5-cent coin of 1987 carries several characteristics that set certain pieces apart from the rest. The metal tone on some examples is slightly different from later issues. The strike on specific batches appears sharper in areas that are usually softer. Weight variations, alignment differences, and subtle spacing in the lettering have all been observed by specialists over the years. These are not things you notice in a hurry. These are things you notice when you slow down, when you examine closely, and when you know what you are looking for. Many of these coins were used heavily in circulation. They passed through markets, buses, shops, and pockets without mercy. That makes high-quality survivors extremely rare today. Men who lived through those decades know how rough daily use could be on small change. Coins were dropped, scraped, cleaned improperly, or stored in poor conditions. Finding one of these coins today in exceptional condition is already difficult. Finding one with the specific traits that collectors seek is even harder. Another reason this coin has gained attention is its historical timing. The late 1980s marked a shift in regional trade, global minting standards, and metal sourcing. Singapore, being a strategic economic hub, was affected by these changes. Coins from this period reflect decisions that were later reversed or modified. That makes them a snapshot of a moment that never repeated itself. Collectors who focus on Asian coinage have been quietly studying this issue for years. Unlike modern hype-driven collectibles, serious numismatists move slowly and speak carefully. They do not announce discoveries loudly. They document, compare, and wait. Over time, a pattern emerged. Certain 1987 5-cent coins began appearing in high-level private collections, not public ones. When something disappears into private hands, it is often a sign that informed buyers see long-term value. Men in their late 50s and 60s often appreciate this kind of slow-burn story. You have seen trends come and go. You know that real value is rarely obvious at first. It grows quietly while others are distracted. This coin followed that exact path. Another factor that adds to its importance is survival rate. Records indicate that a significant number of these coins were withdrawn, melted, or lost over time. Urban development, currency updates, and changing payment habits all contributed to this decline. When physical money gives way to digital systems, older coins vanish faster than people expect. That is why coins from just a few decades ago can be far rarer than coins from a century ago. Condition plays a crucial role here. A worn example may hold historical interest, but a sharply preserved coin with the right characteristics becomes something entirely different. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for coins that combine rarity, condition, and historical context. This is not speculation. This is how the collector market has always functioned. There is also a psychological element at play. Coins from Singapore carry a reputation for precision and quality. When an exception to that reputation appears, it attracts attention. A subtle deviation in an otherwise highly controlled system becomes fascinating. It tells a story of human decision-making, production pressure, and transition. Many men watching this may be wondering whether they have ever held this coin. The truth is, you might have. You might even still have one somewhere, mixed in with old souvenirs, stored in a drawer, or forgotten in a box. That possibility alone is enough to make this story worth hearing. Countless valuable coins were once dismissed as pocket change. What makes this coin particularly compelling is that its rise in value did not come from mass publicity. There was no viral trend, no sudden online explosion. Its reputation grew quietly among those who study such things seriously. That kind of growth is often more durable and more meaningful. As time passes, fewer examples remain available. Each year, more are damaged, lost, or permanently locked away in collections. Demand, however, continues to rise among a very specific group of buyers who understand exactly what they are looking at. When supply shrinks and demand remains steady or increases, value follows. Now, let me be very clear about something important. Not every Singapore 5-cent coin from 1987 holds extraordinary value. Just as not every classic car from a certain year is rare, only specific examples meet the strict criteria collectors demand. This is why knowledge matters. This is why patience matters. And this is why stories like this should be heard fully, not rushed. If you are still watching at this point, you are exactly the kind of viewer this channel is made for. Someone who understands that history, experience, and attention to detail matter. Someone who knows that real worth is often hidden in plain sight. Over the years, a handful of exceptional examples of this coin have changed hands privately. The figures discussed in those circles are not small. They reflect decades of research, verification, and trust. These are not impulse purchases. These are legacy pieces, acquired by people who think in terms of generations, not trends. And now, we come to the part that many of you have been waiting for. The reason this coin is being discussed at all. The reason serious collectors continue to search for it. The reason you should think twice before dismissing any old coin you come across, under the right conditions, with the right characteristics, proper verification, and exceptional preservation. A Singapore 5-cent coin dated 1987 has been valued as high as $5 million. That number is not a promise, not a guarantee, and not a casual claim. It represents the extreme upper end of what collectors are willing to pay for the rarest, finest, most historically significant example of this coin. And that is exactly why this story matters. If you found this information valuable, stay subscribed. There are more stories like this, waiting to be told, and more hidden pieces of history still sitting quietly in the world, waiting for the right eyes to notice them.